USA Wrestling has seen unprecedented success in recent years. The talent is as rich as it's ever been. Many of today's stars are already legends. For the first time ever, FloWrestling is counting down the top 100 American wrestlers of all time. To help us in this journey, we're visiting the greatest wrestling museums in the country. Where does your favorite wrestler land? Tune in each week as we get to number 1.
One of the biggest personalities in wrestling, Jake Herbert, has a lot of big accomplishments to go along with it. He was a 4-time NCAA All-American at Northwestern and is the only Wildcat to make this list.
He loved to be in college. Redshirted twice, was there for 6 years, never wanted to leave, but when he was there and had eligibility, what a career.
He went 3rd, 2nd, and won a pair of national titles his last 2 years, including a Hodge Trophy in 2009. Jake was a member of 4 World and Olympic teams, taking home a silver medal in 2009, also competing in the 2012 London Games.
And he's one of these guys we're going to always remember for that great personality and great credentials.
The goal of wrestling is what? Pins. Wade Silas was one of the greatest pinners of all time.
Wade Silas, for his 100th collegiate pin, decided to have a tiny X on the mat, and he was going to pin his ill-fated opponent on that tiny X. He had to scoot his opponent to the X before he got the fall, getting 100 pins in college, the first ever collegiate wrestler to accomplish that feat.
A 2-time Division II champion for Clarion, Silas also went on to win 2 Division I NCAA titles. He was 153 wins, 5 losses, 1 tie, 106 pins. And of course, today, the Silas Award is given out to the best collegiate pinner annually. He's got a move named after him. It's the Silas Cradle. It's one of the most compromising and maybe embarrassing ways to get pinned.
Wade Silas, innovative, funky, unique. He could pin you anywhere. No one's ever done it quite like this guy.
Funky Ben Askren. You talk about the funky hair, you talk about the big personality, but really where the funk comes from was his wrestling style. He changed the landscape of folk-style wrestling, a 2-time NCAA champion, Hodge Trophy winner, and a 4-time finalist at the University of Missouri. He took Mizzou from a budding program to a perennial national powerhouse when he came and changed the game.
Great wrestlers are always willing to accept a great challenge, and Ben Askren was no different from the all-time greats.
Askren was not the fastest, he was not the strongest, most athletic. He made up for it with creativity and innovation. He figured out ways to score when you were in on his leg. He figured out ways to pin guys from everywhere.
He loved to get the crowd into it, played to the crowd, loved to be the spotlight.
Ben Askren was one of the most dominant folk-style college wrestlers of his era. Mean Jee Mills. How do you get a nickname like that? You're mean on the mat. The 4-time All-American, 2-time NCAA champion at Syracuse was a pinning machine, and Jee Mills was not nice about it.
He was in an all-time shootout in the 1979 NCAA championships with Joe Gonzalez and won 16-13.
He was an Olympian at 52 kilos in 1980. Of course, didn't get to compete because of the boycott.
He won the World Super Championship. He won the Tbilisi Championship. Here's a guy who could pin anyone, but didn't get the chance at the 1980 Olympics.
In 1985, he made the world team at 62 kilos, 10 kilos higher. Jee Mills was afraid of no one and took it to everyone.
He could put points on the board and he could entertain. Mean Jee Mills was like no other.
When most people think of Bobby Douglas, they probably think of his legendary coaching career at Arizona State and Iowa State. In 1988, he led Arizona State to their only ever NCAA team title. And he led the Iowa State Cyclones to numerous team trophies over the years. Additionally, he helped guide Cale Sanderson to Olympic glory in 2004. But Bobby Douglas was one hell of a wrestler in his own right. From 1963 to 1970, he had a stranglehold on the United States. He was an Olympian in 1964 and 1968. In 1965, he made the world team in freestyle and Greco. And in 1966, he became the first black wrestler to ever win a medal at the World Championships.
He beat Dan Gable 11-1 at the 1968 Olympic trials. Bobby Douglas was the real deal. Here's a guy who had technical, tactical greatness, and one of my favorite quotes is when Cael Sanderson said, "Bobby Douglas forgot more technique than most people know." When I think of Brandon Paulson, I think about a guy who was resurrecting Greco-Roman wrestling in the United States. He was part of that trend, and any success that the United States had was in large part because of Brandon Paulson's energy.
He made the Olympic team as a sophomore in college. And not only did he make the team, he brought home a silver medal from the Atlanta Games. Over the span of his career, he would go on to make 3 more world teams in 2001, 02, and 03, bringing home a silver medal from the 2001 World Championships.
Pivotal moment for Brandon Paulson, 2004 Olympic trials, going against world champion Dennis Hall, split the first 2 matches, going into the deciding match to make the 2004 Olympic team. They go into overtime, they decide to stop the clocks, turn them off. Eventually Dennis Hall got the win. Brandon Paulson may have lost the match, but he's part of one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time.
Sarah McMahon was a groundbreaker for women's wrestling. She competed in the 2004 Olympics, the first time women's wrestling was ever included in the Olympic Games.
She won a silver medal, which was the highest medal finish for the United States until Helen Maroulis won a gold medal in 2016.
All said, McMahon was a 4-time world and Olympic medalist while making 8 total world and Olympic teams.
She was part of a big-time movement for the United States, for women's wrestling. Sarah McMahon certainly worthy to be part of the top 100. Joe Warren calls himself the baddest man on the planet. And you know what? When it comes to Greco-Roman wrestling, he has a case.
Prior to his MMA career, he was a world champion in wrestling. In 2006, took home the Greco-Roman world title, was also a member of the 2005 world team.
Only been 5 wrestlers in U.S. history to win a world championship in Greco-Roman. And Joe Warren in 2006, he's the most recent wrestler to do it. Wish he could have kept going on a little bit longer, but when he was there, he was one tough dude.
Joe Warren was mean, he was tough, he pushed the pace, was extremely physical on the mat. Nick Gwizowski is a big guy who wrestles like a little guy. He's light on his feet, he's agile, and he's not afraid to shoot underneath other heavyweights. He was a 4-time NCAA All-American, beginning his career at Binghamton where he was an All-American as a freshman. He then moved to NC State with Pat Popolizio and helped establish them as a national powerhouse.
2-time NCAA champion from North Carolina State. His sophomore season, he upsets Tony Nelson in the NCAA championship finals, preventing Minnesota from having its first ever 3-time NCAA champion.
Nick Gwizowski moved up the ladder in the senior ranks just in time for Gervell Delagnev to retire. Gwizowski stepped in and took over as the heavyweight for the United States, winning world medals in 2017 and 2018, tacking on 2 more world teams to his resume.
In 2017, he was a crucial part of the United States winning its first world championship since 1995. Big Nick Gwizowski.
One of the greatest American heavyweights of all time. Jakara Winchester is tough, she is gritty. Jakara Winchester is from Oakland, and sometimes she's downright mean. In fact, her wrestling career started because, well, she liked to get in a lot of fights.
In middle school, she got bullied, so the natural outlet was to find wrestling after track and field. She became a 2010 California State Wrestling Champion, went on to win the 2013 WCWA Championships for Missouri Valley. But Jakara Winchester's best success happened at the World Championships.
In 2018, she won a spot on the world team, making it all the way to the bronze medal match before falling short of a medal. 1 year later, in 2019, she was crowned world champion.
Not only does Jakara Winchester have a big, beautiful belt for being a world champion, not only is her picture on the wall at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, she's now on the top 100.
That's it for this round. Stay tuned next week to see who makes the cut.